that time to Ranchi University in 1964. After serving with different consulting engineers and architects for 8 years, he started his own practice in the name of Gogate and Associates as consulting engineers and architects. Deeply interested in Vedic philosophy and poetry, Mr. Gogate continued deeper studies and research in those fields side by side. In 1997, he closed his engineering practice and began conducting motivational and development programs under the banner of Antpragyan. Antpragya. These programs, based on scriptural wisdom with scientific validation, enjoyed great popularity at various public forums, public sector undertakings, schools, management institutions, etc. These programs have received wide coverage in news media also. Mr. Gogate has written a book on human values and professional ethics. The book was published by Vikas Publishing House in year 2010 and now enjoys a wide circulation in the universities all over India. Mr. Gogate has also written many articles relating to motivation, self-improvement, holistic values, holistic health, meditation, and dream analysis, etc. These articles were published in various newspapers such as Hindustan Times, The Hindu, Indian Express, Times of India, etc. Many of these articles have also been published by popular magazines like Life Positive, Management, Compass, etc. Some of these articles are available on the website innerconscious.com. Mr. Govind is also Vice Chairman of Prakriti, the Trust of Prakriti Foundation. And Prakriti is an NGO working in the field of empowerment and development of women, active in more than 300 villages of Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh for past 25 years. So with this short introduction, I invite Shri Subhash Balachandran to deliver his talk.
Thank you. Hello everybody. It's nice meeting you all people over here, and topic being ethics, values, and so many things. I'll just tell you my experience. When I joined engineering college in 1960, that time also in our curriculum, ethics and morals was a subject, and that was, as is said everywhere, that was compulsory. But compulsory means the student had to appear at the examination. There was no condition that he should pass the examination. So naturally, very simple thing was happening in the college. There was no class all the 4 years, and everybody used to enter the exam hall at the time, fill up the form, fill up the details and everything, and within 10 minutes of his entry, he used to walk out. Why was this? Nobody was interested in learning those subjects. It's not that those people must not have learned these subjects and willingly followed so many things, so many values and everything. But when you give something, you have to keep the selfish interest of the other person who has to take it. The time a person who is coming to an engineering college to learn engineering, he said, what's all this? And if I can do engineering without passing in this paper, it's perfectly fine. That means whatever we want to give, even we want to give alms, भिखारी को भी ढंग से देना चाहिए. One of the values, because we'll be coming through that. So whenever we give something, any lecture, any subject or anything, in the title, put something which brings his attention, that he must feel that he has got some personal interest, some personal benefit from this attending this course. So when time came, I also did the same as other students did. I also did not write the papers. I also did not attend any class because everybody was doing the same thing. However, for values, I was interested right from my childhood. My grandfather, my mother's father, was a very, very renowned Sanskrit scholar in Maharashtra, Pandit Mahadev Shastri Karandikar. He used to be called Dasagranthi. दशग्रंथ कौन से हैं? 4 वेद और 6 षट शास्त्र, न्याय, वैशेषिक, शेषव सांख्य, निरीश्वर सांख्य, तो पूर्व मीमांसा एंड उत्तर मीमांसा. That is the crux of Vedas. And after the Veda, after the षट shastras, 110 Upanishads were written further explaining all these things. Plus, there was another branch. That was Brahma Vidya, and Brahma Vidya there was Brahma Sutra and Yoga Sutra. So I had wanted to learn these things right from my childhood without having known anything about it. But because I used to see my grandfather, and I was certainly impressed that he was a very knowledgeable person. I used to hear him. But in my childish mind, whatever I could grab, I used to try to analyze and try to feel why it has been said, how it has been said, and everything. And that put me through. Then I wanted to continue my study in Sanskrit, in Vedic literature and everything. But my mother, who was brought in the poverty of my Nanaji, because though he was a big pandit, that's all right. But in those days, there were not those so many big institutions and everything would support such learned people. He used to लोगों के घर में पूजा बाँचते थे. तो पूजा बाँचे तो जजमान ने खुश होके ब्राह्मण को गाय दी तो घर के बच्चों को दूध मिला. Otherwise तो नहीं. So my mother had seen his poverty to such an extent that she said, my son will be in money, will be in business, will be an engineer and everything. And just to fulfill her wish, I joined engineering. And I continued my studies in that direction. So after being an engineer, initially I worked, as it was told in this thing, since 1997, I stopped my business. And first I visited Deer Park. There used to be some discussion and all these things, lectures and everything. I used to go sit there and just talk. I started teaching Ishavasya Upanishad. And the crowd kept on increasing each and every day. And then so many people who used to come to work in Deer Park, there were CEOs of big companies, there were big officers from other companies and everything. They approached me and they said, why don't you come and teach us in our organization? Then I started Antapragya. I started teaching this Vedic knowledge, all this scriptural knowledge in different format. And that time, I never said I want to teach you Upanishad. I used to say, holistic health, art of holistic health, art of holistic well-being, stress management. So every person had an interest, personal interest in that. Everybody says he is stressed. So everybody was interested in coming to that. My lectures, my programs got very, very popular. And that's why slowly I only continued in this thing. I didn't have the wish to go back. And I used to call Mera office tha. It was good office, it had done good name and everything. मैं उसको दुकान बोलता था. Then I decided अपनी दुकान बंद कर दूं और जरा ज्ञान की दुकान खोलूं. And that's when I started working basically on this thing. Now, we're talking about ethics and human values. Generally, everybody talks at part about ethics and human values. No. There is a cause and effect relationship between ethics and human values. If there are human values, ethics automatically generate. But when people learn ethics just for the sake of ethics, they don't work. we talk about mannerism. And then when we meet, we don't know people. When we meet, namaskar, namaskar, we bow to each other and show a lot of respect to the person. Do you think you respect all those really respect all those people whom we are talking about and showing respect? No, it is not the ethics. But if you have learned the values really deep inside your heart, you will bow before a beggar, you will bow before a driver, you will bow before every person because you consider that person is you, just like you. That's the difference between human values and that's the difference between ethics. So, when we say values and we talk about values are falling and everything, no, we are not really true about it. Values are not falling. Values are there, but values are not becoming effective collectively. Every person here carries some or the other value. Even a pickpocket also has got some value. Many of them, they go and they put some money into some dan path. So, it's not that everybody learns value, but as and how the life has thrown those values to him. So, in the living process, we have got many different reasons to collect values. Only that we should be open to it and we should want to accept it. Environment we are brought with it. Say, tomorrow a man has an accident, motorcycle accident हुआ और वो सड़क पे गिर गया. All of us will pass from our cars, will look at it. Somebody will say, "Oh, sorry, बेचारे का accident." Nobody will stop. Nobody will ask. Nobody will help. Everybody will pass. Now, we judge people for values and everything at our own level. Now, have you considered what that person who is sitting on the footpath, he is not able to walk because he is injured, what that person must be thinking? The first thought he must be getting at that moment is, look at the world. If somebody could stop and somebody could help drop me at some convenient place, take me to a hospital or take me to some place and everything. Now, let us reverse it. The same man, after a few years, he is driving along the same road and he finds another man who has got accident and is sitting on the footpath. What will that man do? Logically, everybody will say he will stop and he will look after him. Again, there are two views. One person will say, अरे मैं जब ऐसा पड़ा हुआ था तो मुझे कोई पूछने नहीं आया, मैं क्यों पूछूं? And then there will be another man who say, yes, I was expecting somebody to carry some values within you. Okay, let me show my value. He will stop and help him. That means these teaching episodes, they are happening all throughout our life. It's continuing everywhere. But it is us who take it or who don't take it. The course is open for values. There are no students to take it. So what actually we are supposed to do in this condition is, we have to enthuse them into taking it, and that enthusiasm only comes, yes, I want it. And only then that person will try to learn and maybe grab it with both hands. But then we have to find some way to enthuse people into coming into this course. This is a wonderful course. it makes say ह्यूमन बीइंग्स को ह्यूमन बनाता है, ह्यूमन बीइंग्स को ह्यूमन बनाता है when you learn those values. पेरेंट्स भी हैं, टीचर्स भी हैं, फ्रेंड्स भी हैं, ये भी हमको बहुत कुछ बताते हैं, बहुत कुछ समझाते हैं एवरीथिंग, मगर वो अपने कन्वीनियंस से समझाते हैं और हम अपने कन्वीनियंस से समझते हैं. There has to be a way in giving this knowledge to the people. So we have to find out how it can be done, but it should be done. अब वैल्यूज के एजुकेशन की कोई कमी है हिंदुस्तान में? हर पंडित उठ के खड़ा हो जाता है और जाके 10 लेक्चर मारता है, हर लोग जगह जगह पे, और आप कुछ नहीं, आप जाके सब्जी वाले से कोई वो ले लिया, 2-4 भाव के लिए अगर कुछ वो हो गया ना, वो भी 2-4 फिलॉसफी की बातें सुना देगा आपको, छोड़ेगा नहीं. तो प्रॉब्लम इसके अंदर में ये है कि ऑल ऑफ अस थिंक दैट अदर्स शुड लर्न वैल्यू. सॉरी, यही पे मार खा जाते हैं हम समझते हैं कि दूसरे को वैल्यू सीखनी चाहिए, लेकिन दूसरे को वैल्यू सिखाने के बराबर होने के लायक हमें भी तो वैल्यूज आनी चाहिए. That means if we personally start taking interest in these value subjects and everything, then maybe some other person, your competitor or somebody will say, oh, he's taking interest in that subject, there must be something, let me go and find out. And maybe he may find out. So there are various ways. So we can't just open a human value university and start teaching human values. No, that doesn't happen. So we have to go further into it, to what we can do. As I said, that all of you have learned values in some form or the other form. You have accepted them or you are not accepted them. But number one, I will come to this topic later. Number one is, if something of value has come into your mind and you have heard it and then forgotten it, you go to the forest, every tree flowers in its own season, it makes its fruit, it drops its seeds in the ground. That seed goes and lies in the earth below, on the ground below, and waits there till the time opportune. There is proper moisture, there is proper air condition, there is proper temperature condition, and that very seed which has been lying there for a year sets a sprout. The same thing, whatever we have intentionally or non-intentionally heard of value, those seeds are there. They lie there and then they start sprouting at their own time. Because you are the environment for those seeds. You create a proper environment for those seeds and they start sprouting. So, learning the process basically, it is in 3 stages. Shastra Prati, Guru Prati, and Atma Prati. Shastra Prati is whatever you have read in your curriculum, in the books, or anywhere. You just heard it. You did not understand it. But maybe you decide, yes, इसको कौवा बोलते हैं, या इसको गाय बोलते हैं. Step, nothing further. That lies there. Then suddenly, some other thing happens. Somebody else comes. He is discussing with you, talking about you. Again, somehow that subject gets repeated. That person maybe is knowing much more on that subject. And he says a few more things. And then you understand it better. Much better than before. And that is called Guru Prati. एंड देन वन डे आप घूम रहे हैं बाजार में, पार्क में वॉक ले रहे हैं, एवरीथिंग सडनली टिंग, ओ वो तो बिल्कुल ठीक बोल रहे थे, ऐसा ही तो है। एंड दैट इज आत्मा। When that realization automatically comes, yes, this is what that person wanted to say. This is what that book wanted to say. And then you realize, and that becomes Atma. It's the same way. From our environment and from everywhere, whatever input of knowledge, of value comes to us, it lies there dormant for some time. Then a season comes, and then suddenly you accept it. Only that, even if you have not liked what has been said, stay open. Okay, somebody or some knowledgeable person has written this, and I have read it. I have nothing much objectionable to it. I don't understand it though, but there is nothing objectionable. So take that neutral stance that will come and mature in your mind, in your awareness, one day or the other. Only that we have to stop avoiding these topics. If they come, as and when they come, let's accept them. Maybe we'll grow deeper sometime later. Now, in the earlier class, lot of good things have been said, and basically ये सारा मैं और दुनिया का झगड़ा है फॉर एवरीबॉडी। मैं और ये दुनिया, सारा का सारा झगड़ा ये है। अब ये मैं कौन है? अगर मैं आपको बोलूं, डिक्लेयर करूं कि ये शर्ट मेरा है, I say this shirt is mine. What I have proved in this? Do you think I have proved something? Does anybody think I have proved something here? No? ये शर्ट मेरा है means there is subject object relationship. मैं कोई है और ये शर्ट कोई और चीज है, तभी तो subject cannot be an object. Object cannot be a subject. That means ये शर्ट मेरा है, इसका मतलब beyond doubt we prove that I am not the shirt. I am not the shirt, I am something else. Okay, shirt has proved something. Let's say, whose hand is this? If it is mine, I am not the hand. Whose body is this? If it is mine, I am not the body. Whose intelligence is it which is making this statement? Mine, that is, I am not the intelligence. Whose wisdom is it? Again, if it is mine, I am not the wisdom. Then if you are not the entire body, you are not anything of this body, then who are you? That is where all the problems come. That me and mine, ये relationship जो है, हम mind को me बन जाते हैं। शरीर मेरा है और मैं शरीर बन गया, मैं इस शरीर के लिमिट में ही सब कुछ सोचता हूँ और मैं शरीर के लिमिट में ही बात करता हूँ। जब तक मैं इस शरीर से बाहर नहीं निकलूंगा तो मुझे मैं की पहचान होगी कहाँ से? So this physical body is just a tool provided to you by the nature. In this tool you live, you enjoy this world or you worry about this world, whatever you do. But everything that you do is going to be done through this body, and that's why this is just a tool to react with people, interact with the people, interact with the entire world, and all these things, feel, hear, see, all these things, but the body is there. And then that me, if I say, is that I am not this body, so you also are not the body. And none of us, none of you are these bodies which are sitting over here. then as bodies are different from the minds or from the awareness, let us say, all the bodies have vanished from here, but we are here. The awareness does not die. Awareness को कुछ नहीं होता. ये सारा का सारा awareness जो है, ये एक ही जगह पे है. Won't you call it collective awareness of this room? There's a collective awareness. यहाँ पे जितने ग्लासेस रखे हुए हैं, उन सब ग्लासेस के अंदर में पानी भरा हुआ है. उसमें पानी भरा हुआ है. इस ग्लास का पानी और उस ग्लास का पानी सारे के सारे एक हैं. कोई फर्क नहीं उनके अंदर. लेकिन हम आइडेंटिटी जब लगाते हैं दुनिया में, तो इस ग्लास को हमने नंबर 1 डाल दिया, दूसरे को नंबर 2 डाल दिया, दूसरे नंबर 3 डाल दिया. इससे पानी नंबर 1, पानी नंबर 2, पानी नंबर 4 हो जाता है क्या? पानी तो वो पानी ही रहता है. नंबर 1, नंबर 2 ग्लासेस के हैं. इसी तरह से हमारे आपके सबके नाम जो है ना, ये नाम, और हम कहते हैं मेरा नाम. सॉरी, व्हाट मेरा नाम? इस शरीर का नाम है. मैं इस शरीर से बाहर यहाँ पे खड़ा हो जाऊं तो आप इस शरीर को ही देखेंगे, मुझको तो आप देख ही नहीं पाएंगे. तो मैं अगर ये शरीर नहीं हूं तो इस शरीर का नाम भी मैं कैसे हो सकता? सो ऑल दीज नेम्स एंड एवरीथिंग, दे आर जस्ट पेरिशेबल आइटम्स. एवरीथिंग, we are something else. We are not that. And that is where we learn how to deal with others. If the person standing there, he is sitting there, he is very strong and everything than me and everything, so there will be this thing, he will say he is stronger, I'll say I am weaker, and everything, that the difference comes. But when these glasses are broken, then he and me, we are the same. All of us are the same. And that is the collective awareness. As soon as we start getting the feeling and understanding of this collective awareness, most of our problems vanish. So we'll go further. And now, in these physical bodies, we have certain needs, and they are the basic needs. Survival of the self, चाहे जो भी condition हो, in whatever state we are, everybody will fight for his survival. If somebody comes with a gun or whatever it is, I will try to fight it till the end, that I don't want to die. That's the basic need of every living being, survival of the self. Then next comes maintenance of the self. प्यास लगे तो पानी पियो, भूख लगे तो खाना खाओ, क्योंकि उसके बगैर भी सर्वाइवल नहीं है. So, maintenance of the self, then sustenance of the self. धूप में घूम रहे हैं, एक पेड़ की छांव थोड़ी सी आती है तो खड़े हो जाते हैं. We want to sustain our body from the disturbance of the atmosphere and everything. We want to cool. We want to keep our bodies clean. We want to do so many things about the body and everything. That is the sustenance of the self and survival of the species. Survival of the species, well, without that, no species will continue. And that is why the desire to multiply is strongest than all desires in our life. किसी भी चीज के अंदर में गुजारा हो सकता है, कुछ भी हो सकता है, but survival of the species is a very, very strong desire. Now, you must have realized this, that these basic needs are not for you and me. They are for an ant, an elephant, a tree. anything that is living over here is bound by these 4 basic needs.
Sir, so then I just wanted to clarify it. You said this is survival of the species is a
Sort of to
It's a
reproduce.
desire. It's a
Reproduce.
desire. No. You said it is a desire. You said it is a desire of the.
It is a compulsion, sir, not desire, it's compulsion.
No, not you use the word desire. I wanted to know whether there is a difference between instinct and whatever you are saying, desire.
I'm coming to that further. I'm talking about needs. This is basically a need because everybody, मेरा वंश चलना चाहिए. आदमी तो ये बोलता है, आदमी को ये ज्ञान है बोलने का. गाय को ये ज्ञान नहीं है कि मेरा वंश चलना चाहिए, लेकिन गाय भी रिप्रोड्यूस करती है. सारे एनिमल्स, चींटियां, मच्छर, खटमल, सारे के सारे, and they reproduce because from the total universal power these needs have been provided. Reason one, why I have come to this individual I and collective awareness. नेचर को चलाने वाला जो ईश्वर जिसको हम कहते हैं, he is the collective awareness. If he has to continue ये सारा का सारा नाटक, ये सारा का सारा ड्रामा अगर चलाना है, तो उसके लिए पात्र तो चाहिए. और हम सारे पात्र जो है मनुष्य 100 साल, कोई कितने साल, कोई कितने साल, कोई कितने साल, आगे क्या होगा उसके लिहाज से the time scale is so wide. So he has to run it or do it. So he has to put it as a compulsion on every living being to reproduce. So these are the basic needs. Now in human language, animals अब जैसे देखा वो हमारे जैसे हैं, उनकी भी वही नीड्स हैं जो आपकी हैं, उनका सब कुछ वही है जो हमारा है एंड एवरीथिंग. लेकिन कल कुत्ता दौड़ता दौड़ता आपके पास में नहीं आएगा कि मर्सिडीज गाड़ी खरीदो. नहीं, he has not only needs, he has no desires, he has no aspirations. तो इंसान जितना मिलता है उसमें संतुष्ट नहीं है. वो भी ऊपर वाले की ही रचना है. अगर वो संतुष्ट नहीं होता तो जितनी ग्रोथ हो रही है वो ग्रोथ भी नहीं. तो इंसान को, तो हमारे बीच में और उन सारे जानवरों के बीच में डिफरेंस क्या है? दैट डिफरेंस इज रैशनल माइंड. दे डू नॉट हैव रैशनल. कोई भी गाय आपके घर में आके नहीं बोलेगी अम्मा जी थोड़ा सा नमक डाल दो. हम खाना बनाते हैं, पकाते हैं, अलग अलग स्वाद बनाते हैं, बेचते हैं, भाग भाग के दौड़ के जाके खाते हैं. लेकिन ये सारे जीव जो है बाकी मनुष्य के अलावा, these people eat whatever is available in nature. नेचर से बाहर वो कुछ नहीं खाते. Yes, you can consider differently dogs and cats and everything. लेकिन because dogs and cats आपके आश्रय में रहते हैं, आपके आश्रय में रहते हैं, तो आप जो खिलाएंगे वो खाएगा. एक स्टॉन्च साउथ इंडियन अगर एक अल्सेशन कुत्ते को पालता है, वो घर में मीट तो बनाता नहीं है, चिकन तो बनाता नहीं है, तो कुत्ता क्या खाएगा? वो इडली डोसा ही खाएगा. तो इसलिए जब हम किसी का उसको पहले बाहर से जंगल से उठा के अपने घर में लाके बांध दिए और उसके रखवालदार बन गए, and we are giving them whatever we like, and such dogs and cats show their preference and non-preference. Certain dogs will not eat this, certain dogs will not eat that, certain cats will not eat this and that. That's because we have given them a bit to select in it. Otherwise, a cow naturally roaming in the garden, she will eat the leaves, she will eat the grass, she will not demand shakkar, she will not demand namak, nothing else. So ये डिफरेंस है। अब आदमी के इसमें डिफरेंस आ गया। देखिए, अगर हम भी उसी नेचर की संतान हैं और हमको भी अगर इसी ढंग से बनाया गया है कि हम उस नेचर के साथ में लगे रहें, तो रोटियां तो पेड़ पे नहीं लगती, चावल तो पेड़ में से गुठलियां बना करके नहीं निकलता, वो हम बनाते हैं, क्योंकि उसके अंदर में हमारा अहंकार, और हमने ये बना दिया, ये बहुत स्वादिष्ट है, ये बहुत अच्छा है, एंड एवरीथिंग. So that is the rational mind. Now I am calling it rational mind all the time, but all of you are aware we use it most irrationally most of the time. Then these, yes, different we are talking about difference between needs, desires and aspirations. आपको, आप अपना रेगुलर खाना खाते हैं, रेगुलर जीते हैं, उसके बाद में यू डिजायर टू हैव अ कार, maybe a Mercedes, and then you aspire to have a fleet of Mercedes cars at your house. So need and desire is a stage higher, and aspiration which has no bounds. So these are the qualities of human beings. They are not connected anywhere with all other animals apart from human beings. Now to talk about irrational and rational behavior. I don't have to explain to you, you know that not many people, but most of the times even you also do certain things which are irrational. And we are given to this kind of irrational behavior and all that. We'll come up to this thing. And that irrationality that comes from our selfishness. We are all selfish. Whatever somebody may say, no, I am not selfish, I am just white-hearted and everything. Sorry, you are all selfish. Abraham Lincoln also used to say the same thing. We are all selfish, and anything that we do must have a selfish motive behind it. Many people disagreed with him. He used to say, okay, you prefer to disagree, you disagree, but my statement is this. One day what happened, before being the president, he was practicing as a lawyer. He was traveling from one place to the other in that horse cart, and then he had a fellow passenger, and they were going. Suddenly they heard some shrieks from outside, from the road, and they saw a pig was trapped in mud hole. He was not able to get out, and he was feeling scared, so he was shrieking for help. Lincoln asked the cartman to stop. Then he came out, he saw that the pig is very badly trapped and it has to be taken out. So he removed his shoes, folded his trousers, folded his shirt sleeves and everything, then went inside that and pulled the pig out and put him on the road. Pig thank you भी नहीं बोला, ऐसे ही चला गया. Did not even say thank you, he चला गया. But when he came back to the car, the other co-passenger, he also was one of the person who used to take objection on these things, selfish motive. He was very happy, now he has got a weapon to catch him. He said, sir, now you tell me, what was your selfish motive in saving that pig? And in that process, you have spoiled your trousers, you have spoiled your shoes, you have spoiled your shirt and everything. What was your selfish motive to it? He said, I had a very, very selfish motive here. I have earned a good night's sleep. घर जाता, मैं उसको छोड़ करके घर जाता और बिस्तर पे लेट जाता, तो ये ख्याल कि उस पिग का क्या हुआ होगा, मुझे सोने नहीं देती रात भर. तो कम से कम उसको मैंने बचाया Now at least I can come. Yes, that pig is safe and all right. That means, joke and all this thing apart, there is a very serious point over here. There is very, very serious point here. When I talk, I look at myself, yes, I know this, I know that, I know this. With whatever I do, I have done it. I have done it. The same way, I has a desire. If he fulfills, he is happy. If he does not fulfill, he is not unhappy. He is unhappy. That means, as soon as he was a good man, and that's why he was a person who had human values within him, and that's why it came to him that in spite of all the inconveniences, he should go and save that pig. Every man would not have that feeling. So there's the difference from person to person. But even after being a good man, as soon as a thought arose in his mind that I should save this pig, he was gone. It was his own desire and he had to fulfill it. That means it was selfish act. He was fulfilling his desire. And that's how Lincoln used to express this. Now, animals versus human beings में देखें, हम जंगली जानवर है, doesn't know this, doesn't know that, वो क्या करेगा हमें पता नहीं, हमें पता है वो क्या करेगा और हम क्या करेंगे। जंगल में शेर घूमता है, उसकी नीड है to find a deer, to find some living person, living being, and eat him. That's his need. You can't go beyond that. Otherwise, भूखा मर जाएगा. So it is his need. But how does he fulfill his need? There is an entire big group of deers, and they are running and everything. They are eating grass. They go, steal the leaves, the tiger goes, and those who are regularly watching Discovery and Animal Planet and everything would immediately know. The tiger will select the weakest of the species, and generally a child of the species. हिरन के बछड़े को पकड़ेगा, गाय के बछड़े को पकड़ेगा, because he can capture it very easily. उसको पकड़ के मारेगा, पेट भरने तक उसको खाएगा. माइंड यू, पेट भरने तक उसको खाएगा और उसके बाद में उसको छोड़ के चला जाएगा. जब तक उसका पेट नहीं भरा उसको खा रहा है, अगर कोई दूसरा जानवर आता है तो he will threaten him. लेकिन पेट भरने के बाद में he will just walk away from it. There is a provision of the nature. There are also eaters like vultures. There are jackals. There are hyenas who cannot hunt. शिकार करके नहीं पकड़ सकते हैं, तो उनको it's their work as undertakers of the nature. Tiger is not an undertaker. उसने अपना खाना खा लिया और चला गया. But हमारे शहरों के अंदर में एक दिन एक त्योहार आ गया, उसके बाद में दूसरे दिन सुबह उस मार्केट में से आप गुजर नहीं सकते बदबू से. हम अपनी सारी चीजें वहां पे डालते हैं, सब कुछ डालते हैं, बाकी सारे लीडर्स कुछ भी कहते रहे सफाई करने के लिए. To roots from our side, we don't look after that. We just do our purpose, throw it. फॉरेस्ट का सिस्टम ही ऐसा है कि एक चीज अगर मर गई और वो खाई गई, सब कुछ ये होगा, सुबह तक वहां पे कोई बदबू नहीं होगी, क्योंकि बाकी और उसके पीछे से आने वाले जो हैं अंडरटेकर्स, वो उसको खा पी के साफ करके खत्म हो जाएंगे. अब ये तो उनका सिस्टम हो गया. अब हमारे इंसानों में भी तो बहुत बड़े बड़े बहादुर लोग होते हैं, वो शिकारी बनते हैं, वो हाथ में बंदूकें लेके 100-50 आदमी मिलके वो जंगल में धावा बोल देते हैं. उनको अगर इतना बड़ा अगर ग्रुप मिला ना हिरन का, तो 100 हिरन है, 100 के 100 वो मार डालेंगे, 100 के 100 मार डालेंगे। उसके बाद में उस हिरन को अंडरटेकर्स के नहीं छोड़ेंगे, क्योंकि इंसान खुद ही अंडरटेकर है। वो उनको लेके आएंगे, उनके खाल निकालेंगे, खा सकते तो मीट खा लेंगे, जो मीट खाने वाला है उसको काट करके डीप फ्रीजर में रख देंगे, सब कुछ करेंगे, उसके सींग तक, उसकी खाल तक सब कुछ इस्तेमाल करेंगे, जबकि उनकी वो नीड नहीं, वो नीड उनकी नहीं है। अब यही समझ लीजिए कि टाइगर, उसका तो हक है हिरन को खाने का, अगर उसको इंसान जैसी बुद्धि होती तो वो क्या करता? 150 हिरन है क्या, तो फटाफट फटाफट सबको मार देता, सबको मार देता, शहर जाके ट्रक लेके आता, उनको ट्रक में लोड कर।
एट द एंड ऑफ द डे मैं ये कह सकूं मैंने अपने मॉलिक्यूल्स को रीअरेंज किया। देखिए सामने अब आप ये वाटर ऑफ द आफ्टर द प्रेयर मॉलिक्यूल्स देखिए आप कैसे हो गए, और केवल 3 घंटे में हो गए। ये तो यदि हम कंटिन्यूअसली प्रेयर करेंगे अपने साथ में और कंटिन्यूअसली हम अपना बेस्ट देना चाहेंगे स्टूडेंट्स को विदाउट एनी एक्सपेक्टेशंस, ये देखिए कैसे मॉलिक्यूल्स बने हो। ये लव, एक उन्होंने चावल के साथ एक्सपेरिमेंट किया, 2 कंटेनर में चावल पका करके रखा, एक कंटेनर में घर के लोग केवल सामने से ये कहेंगे यू फुल, केवल ये कहना है। एक कंटेनर के सामने प्यार के विचार आई लव यू ये कहते हुए निकलेंगे। 30 दिन के बाद जिस कंटेनर के सामने से यू फूल कह करके निकल रहे थे वह चावल सड़ गया, काला पड़ गया, और जिसके सामने से प्यार और स्नेह के विचार कहते हुए निकल रहे थे उस चावल में से जबरदस्त स्मेल आ गई। अब हम भी तो 70% पानी से बने हैं ना, 70% हमारी बॉडी में पानी है। जिस समय मैं बेस्ट देता हूं स्टूडेंट्स को विदाउट एनी एक्सपेक्टेशंस, उस समय मेरे मॉलिक्यूल्स अपने आप को रीअरेंज करते हैं और मैं ईश्वर के नजदीक जाता हूं। बस इतनी सी बात यदि हम सब ध्यान करके चलेंगे, यू विल गिव योर बेस्ट टू द स्टूडेंट्स, स्टूडेंट्स फिर अपने आप रीअरेंज करते हैं अपने आप को। थैंक यू।
Those of you who are interested in what the brother just shared, you can go to this website. You can read a lot about Masaru Emoto's experiments and download the books also from there, which is kept for free. Can I conclude in the next 5 minutes? Is that okay? To address
I have a question regarding
whatever you just asked.
It is
Very valid.
my question is this. And love and brotherhood is so powerful, then why the religions are source of extreme violence?
Shall I be honest with you, sir? I don't want to take that up at this point of time because it's outside the purview of our conversation. So respectfully, we will reserve that for some other time.
Let me in 1 minute reframe my question because I understood that as if people are saying that I don't want to take up responsibility. My idea was this: you told that the students require differential treatment. For uniform treatment, I can be very emotive, very good, very too nice to all the people. That is a generalized education imparting. The idea which I took from your instruction was that students require differential treatment, and that's why you must be differential towards students. How to actually judge and actually judge not in the sense of judgmental. Again, I'm getting worried because of so many issues.
I agree.
How to actually know about that this student requires this kind of treatment. That is my issue.
Okay, so very valid points, and these are practical ones. I wish we had little more time, but I try to summarize.
What about the implementation of the proceedings of these countries? My idea is
We
this.
have a panel discussion.
The vice chancellors should be requested.
Yeah, we have a panel discussion. We have a panel discussion in the evening.
The proceedings of the meeting should be sent to the Prime Minister
Yeah, we'll discuss.
and all the secretaries of the ministries and the state government secretaries. Otherwise, it will be a talk of the room.
Yeah, well taken, well taken.
One very first thing, the context of this presentation, the intention I had was, first, there is no one absolute method. There is no one absolute method which works for everybody. if we had such a method, everyone in the world, every school, every teacher would already be following it. The fact that each one of us are following our own methods itself shows that there is no absolute method. Point number one. Second one, the idea of this presentation is not to change or transform somebody out there or to try to label somebody. The idea is to check whether I am already labeling a student in particular manner. Judging is different from being judgmental. Very good point, and I won't go into the details because I guess all of you understand that. The point of this presentation was, when I am treating a student from my side, is it possible to be as non-judgmental as possible? It has nothing to do with you grading their performance. That's totally different. You have to grade. You cannot give A grades to every single student, then you will be called a lousy teacher. You can't give A grade to everyone even if they don't perform well. That's not my point. The point is, when you are approaching a student, how you are trying to share, is that sharing possible to do it in a non-judgmental fashion, where that itself gives you an opportunity to observe and to change your approach as per each student. When you are approaching, that approach itself is cognitively filtered because of your beliefs based on what you observe in your students in terms of their one or two behaviors. My point was, can we catch ourselves there and not become judgmental? That was more important. It was more for myself, more than about the student itself. Because what the student wants to pick up, he or she will pick up. Whatever they want to invest, they will invest. But from my side as a teacher, I should not be influencing them in a wrong way because of my belief. It is more about awareness of changing my own approach rather than worrying again about whether it is influencing the student or not. Right? To borrow from your legal jargon, even if 100 culprits are set free, one innocent should not be impacted. This is exactly the same. As a teacher, is my belief wrongly labeling somebody? Am I wrongly judging somebody? Or am I open? That's all is the intention. And this is not the panacea. This does not solve all the problems. And in terms of standardized tests, I mean, having been in this field and having studied the psychology, not in the sense that you have just mentioned, sir, I did spend more than a dozen years in many of these areas and even experimented with my own team members. Standardized tests to a certain extent are good, but the biggest problem is human nature. By its nature itself is so complex, and as soon as you standardize, you bucketize. To a certain things, it's useful, but not in general for every competency. And in terms of the Pygmalion, let me complete, just 1 minute. In terms of this Pygmalion effect, I'll share my own example. There was this team member of mine who, after the first 1 year, my boss said, you fire these folks because they're not performing well. Clear enough. He said, they're not performing well, you fire them. And I told him, I don't think that they have been given enough rope. We should allow little more time, because I can see that these people are hardworking. From your perspective, they may not be quick, but they are hardworking. We need to invest little more time. And that's what I did. And those two went on to complete more than 10 years. They moved from software testing to software development, and then they went on to become managers. One of them, whom my own team lead said, this fellow is no good, he is a laggard, he is slow, we should let go. I insisted he be given little more time, had a few conversations, now he is about to complete 10 years and he is one of my assistant managers. And I also agree with you, we do not have unlimited time, we do not have unlimited resources. There are cases where I myself fired people for they not shaping up. within the given time, because that time is not unlimited, resources are not unlimited. I completely understand. But when I approach, when I try to judge their performance, am I being as non-judgmental as possible? Or is my judgment itself coming from my a priori beliefs? Whether it is about me being my behavior with my students or my behavior with myself. As I was sharing about that puzzle, solving the puzzles example. So I take this tool more as making me more aware of my own belief system, of my own traps that I might be falling when I am dealing with my students. That's where it stops. Because if I extend it beyond that, then we will end up into all these problems. And I have never suggested this as a solution for those kind of problems. They will be there. But as a teacher, can I watch myself? Can I reflect myself? Can I catch myself? So that in no way will my beliefs or my a priori judgments impact any of my students. Does that help? That's all is the goal that I had in presenting this. But it's a good point. Next time when I start, I'll create this context and then start, so that it doesn't keep bothering as you move ahead with the session.
I thankfully appreciated that I am not a teacher who is not trying to invest. As the impression was created.
I wanted to ask you just a small
Please,
question.
go ahead, sir.
See, you mentioned some studies and all.
Yes.
I don't know whether they are based on the school study, lower level school study. Now, is the age a factor? You know, they are teaching students who are teens,
Yeah.
18, 19, 20.
Yeah.
Is age a factor?
In the sense to influence?
No, no. All this, is it applicable to those students
Yes.
who are teens?
Yes. I would, based on my experience of dealing only with adults above 21 years of age as professionals in the last 20 years. Last 15 years I'm managing people. I can clearly say, based on my experience, this does have an impact.
So the studies
The
are
way
important
I
for
believe,
students.
what I believe about my team member's performance or his capability definitely has an impact on his or her
In
performance.
technical sense, what he is saying is this, that in school kids we have less of prejudices on other side.
Correct.
In law schools or say engineering classes, students are also having their prejudices.
Exactly.
So
that is
that is
the-
that is it.
Yes, yes, I agree with you.
And one more thing, I think kids in schools and the 21 years plus you are talking about are two different categories. In 21 years they are more mature, they are in job and all that. The teens we are dealing with, they have superficial layers, personality layers upon them. They don't have that sense of responsibility. They feel they are themselves very mature, but they are not in fact. So this particular category of 18, 19, 20 is different from 21 plus and different from the kids. So we need to take into account that thing.
I agree with you.
In the first place, I extremely am expressing gratitude to Shri Balakishorji that he is already so much of preoccupied, I know, but despite that, what we were expecting from him was that perhaps 1 hour will be enough, but now I feel that his lecture should continue. But I know that the food is waiting and the colleagues are also perhaps in hunger. I'm extremely grateful to you for a beautiful presentation which has prompted each one of us. I know that there are certain problems in the implementation, as Dr. Neeraj rightly said, that the differential treatment, how would you give? It's so difficult. You cannot find out a single tool, and the formula cannot be universal and uniform. I'm grateful to Sister Kamala also that she has really added beauty to the session. On behalf of the university, I am extremely grateful to all of you, and I invite you for a lunch in the auditorium.
Thank you.